travels on the newspaper you were showing me, out of all those travels, has any of the board joined you?
My lower Michigan meetings, no.
None of them?
None. And however, for my UP meetings, Denise and Darcy and Joni have attended all of my Upper Peninsula meetings that are in their
Now,
units.
where was the rest of them?
Wait, let me also back up. Bridget has attended them too.
Okay.
So.
Where was the rest of them?
Well, wait, I guess I have to also add the Unit 1 one I did in collaboration with the Elder Luncheon. And so then we did have all the board members there, except for DJ fell and hurt her back that day, so she never came in that day. So I'm saying that I'm not going to get in the middle of the board pay, that it's up to members to make that judgment themselves.
Okay. But let me back up here. Where were all the other board members for all these?
Like when we went downstate, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Well, they said
I published it, and so I don't know if people can say they didn't know about it.
Okay, I'm a little confused. They've been posting that they work 24/7. Is there something that we don't know about?
I do have to reinforce that we have a better board than we've ever had, and when I have the effect over their schedule, we do schedule from 9 o'clock in the morning till at least 9 o'clock at night. And for the day that I have available to them, they call me the slave master, because we hardly ever take breaks. We take very short breaks, and we're working through all the things. Now maybe that'll lighten up as we go on, but you know, we're trying to reorganize the tribe and see where we're at. But also when we've been doing the budget reviews, the last 2 weeks we've had a budget crisis, and this is a good segue to get into the budget. Is we had a projected $7 million deficit plan to spend for our budget. Well, that's not acceptable, and so we've identified.
Wait a minute, back up. $7 million deficit?
$7 million deficit.
Now wait a minute, because I'm confused again. When I was at that Constitution meeting, Deborah Pine said, "We're out of the red." She was telling Mr. Menard and the Constitution, how much is this? But we're out of the red. I mean, she mentioned it several times. Now you're telling me that we weren't out of the red?
You know, there's a lot of things that are said that are not true, and we were told.
Look at me.
We were told right after I left office that everything was wonderful now. Basically, like the king is dead, everything's wonderful now. The budget's balanced. But what I know now is that the tribe borrowed $5 million to operate the year after I left office. When I was chair, we balanced the budget every year that I was chair. If you believe the stuff that you read by some board members, the misinformation was published that we had a $70 million reserve account when I left office. No, before I became chair, and that somehow I dwindled that down to nothing, and that I overspent the budget, that it created all of these huge expenses.
I heard this from Pine that day too.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that when I was chair, I balanced the budget every year that I was chair. And this notion that somehow everything was hunky-dory after I left, it's absolutely not true. In fact, not only did we have the challenge of the $7 million deficit, we have a couple of huge ticket items. Now, I'll get back to how we balanced the budget, because we did.
Yeah.
We voted 3 weeks ago in unison to authorize the 2013 budget, with the caveat that by October 16th, we have to come back to the board with approval of how we're going to balance the budget. So that $7 million, I'm happy to report we fixed it. So we do have a balanced budget in front of us. Now, however, there's still a couple of big ticket items. One of them is, after I left office, when we ended up bankrupt, the Greeks filed a lawsuit. So this is going to sicken people, because here the Greeks come back into the picture. The Greeks filed a lawsuit, a $70 million lawsuit, and they're claiming that somehow they were disadvantaged. Now, the same people that put $24,000 in, they ended up with $268 million payout. Now, they didn't get all of that. One of the partners got his share. The other partner still had about 50 or 60 million due. But, you know, in my mind, they weren't due anything because they only put $24,000 in the deal.
And they got that much money.
Right. So
from this tribe?
From us. So the tribes, so they sued, And then, now we have a $70 million potential liability. And so the tribe, I think that the tribe did a good job with negotiating that down as low as possible. So after I left office, they brought it down to 2.77 million. And so that was accepted by the court, but the Greeks challenged it and they didn't agree with it. So then it was appealed. So then it appealed up to the circuit court, and in the end the circuit court ordered that they have to pay it. Or no, we have to pay them. So the settlement was agreed upon by the court. Now, we don't know what the Greeks are going to do. They may appeal it, and if they appeal it, it'll get stretched out another year maybe. But if they accept it, we have to come up with $2.7 million right now. The expense is...
you don't know where the money's going to come from.
I don't. So we had 2 weeks of very good sessions with the board. We worked together.
How did you get yourself out of this $7 million deficit?
The way we started out with this, and I have to give credit to Denny McKelvey for this, because Denny's is as extremely conservative as you can possibly get, and he pushed that we have a balanced budget. So what we did was we had these review sessions. We had Angelina's the new assistant membership and internal services as executive director. And then Bill Connolly is the CFO. And what we had them work through all their subordinate team members to identify savings. And also the health director, Bonnie Kalfa. And we identified collaboratively options. They weren't recommendations, but we found options, and then we met with the board for the last 2 weeks to go line by line through these. And we had some heated discussions and debates. And mostly though, when we ended up, I felt good about the fact that we accomplished our goal, but also we built some relationships through that process. So I think it was a very positive process. But one of the drivers was that we not cut jobs and we not cut services. Those were our two primary goals, and we accomplished that. We didn't cut any jobs in this process. We didn't cut any services in this process. And we balanced the budget. So now that's the budget. Now we have to get back to two other big things.
Right.
One is these looming liabilities. One is the Greek liability, but another big one is health insurance. Now, when I was a board member,
You're talking about the Blue Cross.
yeah.
Okay.
When I was a board member, we had Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it was brought to the board back in the late 90s to switch to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and so. We had Blue Cross, and we were asked to switch to NGS, and I didn't like the idea because Blue Cross is the gold standard, so I didn't want to switch. So then, however, when we looked at the potential savings, I stipulated in the motion that we have an articulation of benefits, which means we were told that everything that was in Blue Cross would continue in NGS, but a friend, the hospital administrator, Dan Wakeman, he advised me that the only way that you have that for sure is if it's in the articulation of benefits. So he coached me. So I made that as an amendment to when we switched from Blue Cross to NGS. So that way there's a guarantee that the benefits continue and that it's covered. That's your contractual relationship. All right. So as time went on, I stood corrected. NGS was better than Blue Cross Blue Shield. We had the same benefit and it was cheaper. And the administrative overhead was about 18% that we were paying Blue Cross to manage our care. When we took it over to self-insurance, we saved that 18% immediately off the top. And so while I was chair, we managed it effectively so that we didn't have any premium increases that the employees had to pay, the team members. And that's as good as you can get. You have a good plan, there's no premium increases, all while I was chair. And so, however, I leave office, and several board members get this big idea that, well, we got to go with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield asserted to the tribe that there would be a $2 million savings, and we're looking at right now litigating because not only did we not save $2 million, it cost us $2 million more. And so now where we're at is the tribe switched back to NGS. So all this happened while I was gone. This big idea to go to Blue Cross and to go back to NGS, and now we have a
And whose idea was that? Do you know?
The several board members pushed it. I'd have to go back and look at the voting record, but I don't know. But
so they cost us another $2 million.
Well, it's actually for this year. by December 31st, we have to identify where 2.99 million is going to come from. So now where I discovered this, I know, where I discovered this is as we're doing...
This is the board, people.
As we're doing the reviews to balance the budget out, I'm feeling pretty confident that we're going to get to the point where we balance the budget out, just based on all these other assumptions. And then as we're meeting, this comes up, and I'm like, are you kidding? What made you think you could do better than what we had for NGS? And so the question then is, how did it happen that that it cost us more money? The tribe did not do an articulation of benefits. So something as simple as that, the tribe didn't do that. But they didn't do it based on the misrepresentation from Blue Cross Blue Shield that we would be guaranteed to get a $2 million savings, not a $2 million increase.
But wouldn't you have something in stone before you made that agreement?
Well, yes, and
signed?
Yes, that's what you should have, but that doesn't release Blue Cross from their liability because they misrepresented it to the tribe. So I would have done it a lot differently than what we did, but I still think we have a very solid case to prove that Blue Cross misrepresented to us.
But now you've got this on your shoulders, and this was nothing to do with you, but you're taking
That's
it
right.
on, right?
Well, you take the 2.77 million and the 2.99, and then also the other big piece is, so when I left office, we used to budget for capital outlays and capital improvements and repairs and maintenance for facilities, and so that all fell kind of by the wayside. And so for years, this is why the casino looks a little dingy, doesn't look as clean as it should. Well, there's a few appearances are a little dull right now, and it's because we haven't been paying for these improvements along the way, not at the level we need to. And so right now, the budget for capital improvements is another $3.5 million. So you add these three together, and we're 2, 4, 6, 8, over $8.5 million that we got to figure out what we're going to do about. Now, we can survive because we can move the capital improvements to a letter of credit with our banks, and then only do the improvements as we need to. So that takes that $3.5 million off the table. The Greek liability, we might be able to finance. To pay off the Greek liability.
I was listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my, I'm all choked up. I couldn't even sleep at night if I were you. I'm you know what? I'm listening to you in all these figures, and you're so smart. You're just you're plopping it together like it was nothing. But to me, to hear this is absolutely friggin' crazy.
It was overwhelming too. I agree, it's overwhelming.
But you're calm.
Well, because I have to be. I mean,
I mean, look at me. I'm getting hyper right now. Oh
I'm
my God.
frustrated. I admit I'm frustrated, but I'm
but
optimistic.
all these, I'm overwhelmed because all these $1 million mistakes, it was about the board that did it. And it's gotta stop. I mean, we need that new Constitution. Let's get back to that.
Yeah.
That new Constitution. What is the board complaining about or wanting that it needs to have this done before it passes? What are their issues?
Well, I would say I don't put all the board members in the same category because I think.
Well, I'm not putting all the board, but I.
All right. So there are some.
Yeah.
There are some that see the wisdom of a separation of powers, and they're supportive, and they are genuinely supportive, and they're willing to go forward. I put in that category. I put DJ Malloy. I would say that I think with some minor tweaks, I think Kathy will be in that and there as well. Kathy Abramson, and then I also think Jennifer McLeod. And Jennifer and I've had our differences.
Jennifer
and
worked
some stuff.
on this, didn't she? She said that, I was there, I know what she said. She said that it's not perfect and I'd like to see a few changes. Now, that being said, are these changes getting made?
That's what the process, that committee that we talked about, is going to go through those and identify those. So I think Kathy will be supportive, DJ will be supportive, Jennifer McLeod will be. I think Lana Cosley will be as well. Lana's father was the chair of the committee,
Yeah.
and Lana has consistently said that she will support putting it out to a vote of the people. And so I think that those are your 4 probable votes for it. Now, we need 7 votes in order for this to happen. Now, one of the unique things in our Constitution currently is that the chairman has a vote. Not only in case of a tie. For a constitutional issue, the chairman gets a vote. So I am committed to passing the new Constitution as the committee wrote it. Because I think there's something about integrity. We said that we were going to do something. We put it out. We said that when the members go out, they draft it up, they bring it back based on the input from the membership, that we would then put that out for a vote of the people. And I'm 100% supportive and respectful of the time and effort that that committee put together and that all the input that came from the members. So I'm good with putting the entire document out for a vote right now. And so if we have to amend it, I will be good doing that as well. So, but I count myself as one of the yes votes. So then now you're at 5 votes. You need 7 votes to put it out to a vote of the people. So now we need 2 more votes. So then I put kind of in the middle category, so you get yes over here, in the middle category, and then you have the no votes. I put, there's only one board member that I put squarely in the no category. I think Debbie Pine is going to vote no on the new Constitution under any circumstance. I've not seen anything from her that would lead me to believe that she supports the separation of powers.
Nor is anybody else.
Right.
Nor is.
So I'm not trying to be unfair.
No,
I just
you're
don't.
not. We've
And you know, the other thing is that board members can express themselves. They can write things. They can join the Sault
I
Tribe
think
Guide.
I've seen her express herself at the Constitution, rolling her eyes and stuff like that, and, which I thought was totally out of order.
So here's the thing: when people see this interview, they're welcome and they're encouraged to contact the board members and say, "Okay, what's the score? Where are you at?" And if you aren't